Have you ever felt guilty for being a stay-at-home mom? Have you ever felt guilty for being a working mom? Have you ever felt guilty for sending your kid to daycare? Have you ever felt guilty for asking God for 2 more hours of sleep? Yeah, I have too. I have felt so guilty this past week between trying to start a new business, trying to figure out if I'm going to send my daughter to daycare or not so I can have a little bit of time to myself. I feel guilty for taking time for myself. I feel guilty for not being able to play with her as much as I want to because I have a toddler and a baby. And I feel guilty for dividing my attention. No matter what we do as moms, it always feels like it's never enough. So in today's episode of the Tuckered Mama podcast with your host, me, Sammy Collins, we're going to be talking about mom guilt, how we feel about it, and how we can get to a solution of starting to let it go. So let's break it down a little bit. There's the pressure of everyone saying you should do this, you should do that, you should soak up the moment. You've got the mental load of everything else that piles on. I'm thinking constantly about all the laundry that has to be done, all the dishes that still need to be put away. Should I take this time? I have 10 minutes before bed. Should I take this time to switch over the laundry, or should I spend my last 10 minutes with my daughter reading her favorite book? But at the end of the day, I am so exhausted and I feel guilty for wanting to send her to bed early, but I also feel guilty for not spending that time with her and then regretting it later. So how can we balance these two things? How can we get off of social media and not compare ourselves to others and how they are doing things to stop feeling so guilty? The internal expectations you have versus your reality. We tie our identity to motherhood, and we love our kids so much that we feel responsible for everything. Society tells us that we should cherish every moment, and we should, but also you need to be looking out for yourself and your own mental health and your own mental well-being, and reminding you that it's okay to take a break. You don't have to feel guilty for taking 5 minutes in a closet to take a deep breath and letting them scream outside the door banging on it. I've been there. I've done that. I feel terrible for leaving my daughter sometimes crying, but I have to take a minute to myself. Now, I do not let her cry it out. I don't let her scream for 30 minutes. I don't lock her in her room. Nothing like that. But I certainly do tell her, Lacey, Mama needs to take a break right now. I'm a little frustrated with you, and I be sure to express my emotions to her so that she can see what I'm feeling. And then eventually I hope that she can tell me when she's upset and crying how she is feeling is my goal. So for the most part, that has worked out well for us, but not every time. And sometimes everybody's just screaming at once and your head's about to explode. You need some ibuprofen, you need some headache medicine, you need to step outside and get some fresh air and some sunlight. Do not feel guilty for that. Spring is here. Winter is going away. It is time to get out and enjoy some sunshine. I know that for my family, just getting out, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes into the sun, listening to the birds chirping, watching the squirrels run around, that has been so good for all of us to reset. Sometimes I sit down and talk to my daughter and I say, hey, let's reboot. Let's start over. You started punching me first thing in the morning. Not cool. You started hitting your brother. Not cool. Let's figure out how we can restart this so we can have a good day. And I don't want to feel guilty for taking that time to set boundaries and to explain to her what I'm expecting of her throughout the day. And then hopefully moving forward, we are able to have a much smoother day, because I don't want to feel guilty for not going to work and not making money being a stay-at-home mom when this is my job. It's the best job in the world to me. I feel guilty every day for not going and supporting my family, but right now this is where I am needed. I'm needed at home. I'm needed to pick up the chores, pick up the household, make the dinners, do the grocery runs, make the dentist appointments, all of the hats. I'm wearing all the hats. I'm doing all the jobs but I'm fine with that. I am okay with that. I feel guilty for not making money financially to support us, but I am doing so many other things to help my family in this phase that we are in. It will not be like this forever. They are growing up. They are getting bigger. They will start school soon. So I've learned to remind myself, you're just in this phase momentarily. We don't feel guilty because we're bad moms. We feel guilty because we are really good moms. So if you're a working mom and you're trying to support your family, that is the phase that you are in right now. It is totally valid. You deserve to get out there. You deserve to support your family. And not everybody likes the stay-at-home mom life. You know, social media makes it seem so glamorous, but in reality, it's a lot to keep up with. Working moms, there's no right or wrong. This is hard to explain, but there is no if you're a working mom, there's no comparison. There's no pros and cons that balance out each other or that outweigh each other. A working mom, I can't wait to do an interview with a working mom and see her point of view, because I cannot say much for myself. I'm trying to start this new business myself right here. I used to do another business where I did a lot of sublimation and cups and tumblers and t-shirts and all the things. But now here I am starting this podcast, trying to build a mom community. And I hope that it eventually will pay off for my family. And if not, this is my diary to my kids. So I hope that they can look back at this and say, wow, my mom was really trying here. But finding this time away from my kids has been a real struggle for me. And I feel bad sometimes leaving my kids in the care of other people when I feel guilty. I feel like it's my responsibility to watch after my kids. They're my kids. That's just how I feel. So this is the way that I feel guilty for trying to be a working mom. I feel bad coming down here and recording these episodes sometimes when I can hear the house screaming upstairs, and I know that they need me. So it's really hard to balance. I don't think that there's any good or bad way to talk about either side. They're both challenging. The 5 biggest types of mom guilt are the working mom. You feel guilty all the time because you're away from your kids. The stay-at-home mom guilt. The screen time guilt. I can't tell you how many times I have had to lately, since my second was born, put on a show so that I can go nurse my son in peace, where she's not distracting him, lay him down for a nap, or just separate them because they're fighting. Our screen time has definitely kicked up, especially over winter, and I feel terrible about that. Like, what is she actually learning from these shows? Nothing, really. We tried to stick to educational shows for the most part until the afternoon. Then in the afternoon, when she is just super full of energy, I will let her watch her favorite shows. Right now it's Blaze and the Monster Machines. She loves that show. It really keeps her calm. It keeps her focused on something. I know it's TV and I feel guilty for it, but also I need to take a second for myself before I overreact to something so small. We're also potty training right now. We've been potty training for months, and she's having some stomach issues, so I think that we just have a lot going on. So for me to give her screen time so that I don't get frustrated with the whole potty training process, or her to get frustrated, I'm going to have to let that guilt go. It's not going to be like this forever. It's just a temporary time. I'm not letting her watch TV all day long. And the shows that I do let her watch, like first thing in the morning when I'm still trying to sleep in, are educational. So I feel a little bit better about myself. But screen time guilt, that's a struggle for me. And it's something that I just have to remember, like, okay, it's no big deal. You know, she's going to go to school soon. She's going to start, expressing interest in new things. We're going to get involved in sports. Summer and springtime are here, so we are going to get outside more, and then screen time won't even be an option because we're outside playing with the water table, or she loves helping me with my yard work. We do tons of yard work. I'm always out in the garden. I'm always out mowing the grass. I like to have a clean looking yard. So I'm thankful that summertime is here and that my son, my second born, is getting bigger. So having to have them separated hopefully will close the gap very soon. So the working mom guilt, the stay-at-home mom guilt, the screen time guilt, self-care guilt. I feel guilty when I have to go get my hair done. It's almost 3 hours that I'm away from my kids, and having to have someone else watch them has always been a struggle for me. And just sitting there thinking, what am I doing? Why am I spending this money on myself when I know that we're going to need diapers next month? When I know that we need groceries, or we just bought a ton of healthy groceries, and here I am going to spend money on Chick-fil-A when I just bought all these groceries at home and came up with all these recipes, and here I am eating Chick-fil-A. Like, why am I doing that? Mom guilt, self-care guilt is a big thing for me too. Like, other things like getting my nails done. I have not gotten my nails done, which is a luxury, since before my daughter, who is 3, almost going on 3.5, since I was pregnant with her. I have not gotten my nails done. So that's almost 4 years now. So that's just not something that is a priority to me anymore. Getting my hair done is. Going out with my mom friends. I feel guilty sometimes for leaving my husband to fight for his life at bedtime, because bedtime for us is a 2-man job. We lay down with both of our kids every night and in their separate rooms. So obviously one person cannot be 2 places at once. So I feel guilty for going out with my friends. I feel guilty for asking to go get a massage when my back is really hurting and sore from carrying these kids all day. I feel guilty for asking to do a solo coffee run or a solo, grocery run. I feel guilty for wanting to do these things and take care of myself when I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. And I'm here to tell you guys that it's okay. Those are just a couple of hours. My daughter doesn't even realize sometimes that I was gone for 3 hours. And I know that she's in great hands. I know she's having fun. She's very well taken care of. And I feel refreshed after I've gone out on a mom's night. I know it really helps me when I sit down with my girlfriends once a month at dinner, at breakfast, at lunch, at a craft, at a night out, something. It helps me to check out of my own head. It helps me to find relatable conversations, and it distracts me from all of the chores I have sitting waiting at home that are always in the back of my mind, my ongoing endless to-do list. All of that kind of just fades away when I'm with my friends, and I can have actual conversations with people that are in this same phase of motherhood that I am. So I'm really grateful that I have forced myself to start a community of friends that we get together once a month to give ourselves that self-care. So self-care guilt, you're not alone. It's important. You need to take time for yourself, even if it's just 1 hour where you're binge watching your favorite show in your room and you shut the door and you leave the kids with your spouse or with someone else, or you go to the gym and you sign them into daycare. I've seen tons of moms doing that to get their workout in. I am not a workout person. I wish I was more of it, but I love going on walks and getting outside. So that's the extent right now of my workout. So if you're a workout person, they have plenty of gyms that have daycares that you can check your kids into, and that gives you a break. Even if you don't go work out, like I could go check in my kids to the gym and sit there and work for an hour or two on my computer, or literally just sit there and have a coffee and doom scroll on social media. Because let's be honest, We all do it. So, again, the 5 biggest types of mom guilt are going to be the working mom, the stay-at-home mom, screen time guilt, self-care guilt, and losing your patience. I know for that last one, losing my patience, I have done that so much. And I feel terrible every time I do it. And it just makes me feel like a bad mom. And I shouldn't feel like that. So getting frustrated with your daughter or your kids is something that I need to work on myself. And okay, this one was a little harder to talk about than I thought. Getting frustrated is, I have to get my thoughts together, is something that I hate to admit, but I need to admit that it happens more often than I'd like. And I tell my daughter when she gets frustrated to take a second and breathe. And I have to remind myself to take a deep breath, that this is no big deal. Tomorrow's a new day. We're going to restart. We're going to start over. And we're going to forget about what happened today and start fresh the next day. Or after nap time, we're starting over. We're refreshing. Or maybe we're all just really hungry and we need to go eat. So the guilt of popping off on my daughter when I'm frustrated with something like this potty training stuff, when she's been peeing in the toilet for many, many months, no issues, and then she has like a week of accidents, and I'm just like, what happened? What's going on? Why are you doing this all of a sudden? And it makes me frustrated to know that she can do something and she's, to me, purposely choosing not to pee in the toilet because she knows that it's getting a reaction out of me. So getting a reaction also makes it 10 times worse, because then she's going to keep screaming because she knows that I'm mad about it. Or she's going to keep poking at her brother because she knows that that is irritating me. Finding a balance between being strict with her and setting boundaries and giving her rules and consequences naturally, than just yelling at her, making her scared of me, threatening her, hitting her. None of those things are what I see in myself being a mother. Don't want that for her. So the losing your patience skill is something that you may need to work on with therapy or self-reflection and figure out different ways to redirect. I know if I change the subject on her or ask her about something else, that she will stop doing whatever I don't want her to be doing, like hitting her brother. Like, hey, why don't you go find a toy for him? Let's find a toy. Which toy do you think is his favorite? Let's go pick that out. Or if she's screaming, then Lacey, can I hear how low you can go with your voice? Let's play that game where we go really low and then really high, and then we go really soft and we whisper. Like something like that, like transform it, change it, redirect it into a game or a new activity, or just completely change the subject. Like, hey, when she's screaming in the car, a big one for me is, hey, do you think you can find any green trees? Like during fall, we were always on the hunt. She went through a screaming phase and I was like, hey, it's fall now. Do you see any leaves, any trees that are losing leaves? Can you find any red trees? And then she would look out her window, forget she was screaming and going crazy, and she would be looking for red trees. And I'd be like, okay, do you see any yellow? What other colors do you see? And just change the subject and start a new conversation and roll it off. Like, let it water off of, what's the term? Water off a leaf, whatever. Just move on. Like, you have to be the bigger person and let it go so that you don't feel guilty for raising your voice. You gotta train your brain. That was the hardest thing for me, was you have to train your brain to think before you react, but you need to think, how can I redirect this quickly so that I don't get frustrated and that it makes her move on to something else. So working mom guilt, stay-at-home mom guilt, screen time guilt, self-care guilt, and losing your patience guilt. All of those are the 5 biggest mom guilts, in my opinion. So all of these mom guilts are making us feel burnt out, like the working mom guilt. You're just burnt out. You've been working all day and then you come home and you're trying to make up for what you missed. It's a lot. You feel burnt out. Stay-at-home mom guilt, you feel resentment, you feel guilty for not being able to do things to financially support. You feel anxiety from any of these guilts, really, but like screen time, I know I feel really anxious, like, oh, this is not good for her, I shouldn't be doing this. You never feel present whenever you're doing self-care. Self-care guilt can make you feel like you're not being present with your kids when you do have free time and you have your first Saturday off in months and then you want to go spend it on yourself. You can feel a little guilty for not feeling present. And then you can feel like you're missing the joy and mentally you're apologizing all the time. That is not healthy. So we need to move on from this. So let's figure out some practical emotional tools that we can use that will help us think before we react. So let's practice naming it when it shows up. So right now I feel guilty because my daughter is having some stomach issues and I was yelling at her the past couple days for not pooping on the toilet, and it's so frustrating to me. We've been going over this for months and we finally got somewhere where she was doing it and now she's not. So she ended up getting a blockage in her and we had to give her Miralax to help it. Well, it did help, but then we switched to fiber gummies, which was a huge mistake because I felt terrible when I found this out. I was giving her too much fiber that made her accidents just completely liquid, and she literally could not control herself. And I was feeling terrible that I gave her that much, but I didn't know any better. And now I know, but I shouldn't feel guilty for trying to help her. So ask yourself, is this true or is this just the pressure of motherhood? And I need to replace my guilt with intention. So we stopped it immediately. And I've been comforting her and telling her it's okay and trying to fix it. And I should not feel guilty for that. So name it when it shows up. What kind of guilt are you feeling? Is this true or is this just pure pressure or mom pressure? Replace the guilt with intention and set yourself some realistic standards. Like, okay, I found out the problem. I found out the issue, what was causing this. No wonder she can't control herself and go to the bathroom when she needs to because there's too much going on in her body. She doesn't even know what's going on. She's also trying to learn addition and subtraction and all of her letters of the alphabet and how to run with super speed and what is the difference between superheroes and why real cars in real life are not race cars and reality, like, versus fiction and nonfiction. Like, she's trying to master all of these new skills, and then here I am throwing a wrench in and getting mad at her for not going to the bathroom. So this episode was really important for me today to talk about because I've been feeling extreme mom guilt lately. And I just want to remind you guys to model grace to your kids and you'll feel better about yourself. Stop apologizing for having needs for yourself also. Take that time so that you can reboot, so that your kids are not having a perfect mom, they're having a regulated mom. They need that. So I hope today you kind of got something out of this that you feel better about. Like, figure out when you're feeling guilty, figure out those moments when you need a break. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to go to work. You're allowed to choose different parenting styles than others. You're allowed to think differently. You're allowed to grow beyond just the title of being a mom, you can really find yourself. I feel like I found myself becoming a mom, and it's changed me in so many wonderful ways. And I'm just forever grateful that I got this opportunity. So here are some questions I want you guys to think and sit with the next couple of days that I wrote down for you about mom guilt, kind of how I got my ideas and my script and what I wanted to say to you guys about this episode. This one is it's just hitting me hard this week. So think about these questions. When did you first start feeling mom guilt? Which type of mom guilt did you feel? What situations are triggering you most, and how can you fix them? Is this guilt coming from my personal values or outside expectations? Like, is this something that you grew up doing that you want to do and you're feeling guilty for not doing it? Or are others influencing you and you're feeling guilty for not being part of the herd instead of standing out? Would you judge another mom for feeling how you're feeling? I would never judge another mom for feeling guilty for giving extra screen time to have a moment to herself. I'm not judging other moms for going to work and try to make income for their family. I would never judge another mom for sending their kid to daycare. So think about that. What are you afraid of will happen if you let go of the guilt? What is this guilt protecting me from? Am I trying to prove something through motherhood? Are you trying to prove something? Who are you trying to impress? How does guilt affect the way you show up for your family? Are you so guilty and stuck in this mom guilt that you're hiding away, or that you're sad all the time, or that it is making you build up and build up and build up till your steam explodes? How is it making you feel and show up and affecting your family? What would motherhood look like if I trusted myself more? What would motherhood look like if you trusted yourself more? Trust your gut. Trust your feeling that you need a break. What do you want your children to learn and to see about you treating yourself? So however you treat yourself, that's how I want my kids to look up to me and to see this model in front of them of how I'm treating myself. So I need to remind myself to take these breaks and become more regulated and not stress and freak out in front of them. But also, if you don't feel guilty for it. Explain it to them. Do not go lock yourself away. Do not just say, here, take the baby. I need a moment. Explain it to them. Tell your kids. I tell my daughter, Mama's getting frustrated right now. I've got to take a break from you. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible leaving you, but I need a moment to myself to reboot. And then when I'm ready to come back, I want to play with you such and such and such and such. So explain it to them so they don't just see you slip away and wonder, why did you just yell at me and then leave? So explaining your feelings and your emotions to your kids hopefully will pay back in the future. I hope that my daughter can come to me with anything and tell me how she's feeling. So the last thing I wanted to cover with you guys is guilt versus truth. Guilt says, I'm failing. Truth is that you're tired. You're not failing, you're tired. Guilt says, I'm selfish. The truth is, you're human. Do not feel selfish. Do not feel like you're failing. You're tired and you're human. So before we wrap up today, I just want to remind you guys of something. The fact that you even worry and care about whether you're doing enough, whether you're being patient enough, whether you're giving your kids the best version of yourself, that alone just speaks volume for the type of mother you are. Bad moms don't sit around and wonder if they're doing their best, if they're doing a good job. So many of us carry this invisible weight of mom guilt every single day. We replay conversations, second guess decisions, and hold ourselves to standards that we would never expect another mom to hold themselves to. So maybe today is the day that we start putting some of that weight down. Not because motherhood all of a sudden got easier, but because we realize that we were never meant to be perfect in the first place. Your kids don't need a perfect mom. They need a loved mom, a present mom, a mom who's going to give herself grace in the same way that she's giving grace to everyone else she meets. So the next time that little voice in the back of your head creeps up and says you should be doing more, I want you to pause and remind yourself, I'm doing the best I can today, and that is enough. If this episode spoke to you, I would love to hear from you guys. Send this episode to another mom who might need this reminder today about mom guilt. Share it in your stories. Tag me. I will be happy to connect with you. I'll be sharing this over on my social media. This episode today just hit me so hard. I've just been struggling with this week of mom guilt that I wanted to come out and share it with you guys and tell you my techniques of how I'm working to resolve this. And let's talk on social media. What worked for you this week? What helped? I hope something here today helped. I hope that you resonate with me, and thank you so much for following along. I appreciate the support, and this mom community is for everybody. So remind yourself that guilt says I'm failing, but you're not. The truth is you're tired. Guilt says I'm selfish, but the truth is you're human. So remind yourself of these things, and I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you look forward to all of my Easter content. I've got a lot of Easter content on my social media on Instagram right now. Be sure to check that out. Last week's episode was all about Easter. Easter's like 2 weeks away. So are you ready? Are you not? Are you doing something simple? Are you doing something big? Let's talk about that too. So from one Tuckered Mama to another, take a deep breath. We're all in this together. No more mom guilt. Move on. Get over it. Let's do it together. Let's practice these techniques. From one Tuckered Mama to another. See ya.